Hi, I am Barbara Beckman, and today I want to share with you a little raccoon that I painted. He is absolutely adorable. I first want to give a shout out to somebody from my hometown in New York. His name is Richard Cole, and thank you, Richard, for allowing me to paint your adorable raccoon that you stumbled upon in Irvington, New York. So I really thank you so much. I grew up with these raccoons, so they are very near and dear to my heart. So I spent a lot of hours sketching this raccoon's face out. So I did that off camera. I just wanted to show you how I pieced him together when I started out to paint him. So I'm using a Frisket film here, and Frisket's a masking film that typically I use for my airbrush. And I'm not sure at this point if I'm going to airbrush the background. I'm thinking I probably would because it was such a blurry background that I wanted to do it the easiest way possible, and I find that airbrushing blurry backgrounds seem to come out the quickest and the easiest for me. So that's why I wanted to mask off the face of the raccoon before I went any further. So the Frisket works great for this. I just cut it out, and it's basically two pieces of paper that I'll peel apart, and I'll stick the sticky part onto the animal's face. So if there's any spray from the background, whatever I decide to use on it, then it will not harm or get onto my face. So my airbrush wasn't working. I kind of thought that when I started out. The compressor's been acting up, and it's really, really loud now and like bouncing all over my floor. So I decided not to use it. So I decided just to use some acrylic paint, and I'm careful not to make it too watery because I don't want this paint to buckle. This is a high quality paint paper, and I still just am very careful that I was just trying to avoid any buckling because I don't need any big buckles or bends or anything else. I need to keep this as flat as possible so when I work on the raccoon itself I won't have any issues. So the background is really, really blurry and out of focus, which I think I really love about this painting. It looks as though this guy Richard came upon this adorable little raccoon in the woods here, and the raccoon was just as surprised as Richard was probably to see him there. So I love that it's out of focus. I love that it looks like maybe his little leg or his paw is up on a tree branch or some sort. I really can't tell. And I love that, and I want to try to keep that as close as possible in my painting here. So I decided to use the acrylic paint. It was working out pretty well. I just tried to keep it as blurry as I possibly could. And what I mean by that is to just not show a lot of details. So I just basically blocked in some of the colors, and some dark blacks, some greens, some blues, some turquoise colors, a little bit of orange, because it looked like there might have been some sort of leafing or something going on underneath him or above him. So it had a nice little burnt orange kind of color there. So now what I'm basically doing is trying to kind of mimic the small strokes that a colored pencil would have. Because I'm going to be using colored pencil in his actual face, I wanted to keep some of these strokes very short so it would tie in all together, so there would be some consistency throughout the entire piece. So you'll see me doing a lot of layering. It takes a lot of time. It's something that doesn't go by very quickly. I just concentrate on a lot of layering, using the same kind of colors, just variations of them. I'll darken them, I'll lighten them, I'll darken them again, I'll add a little bit of gray in it, I'll add a little bit of white in it, and I'll just change it ever so slightly. So as they dry and as I keep adding layers on layer on layer on layer on top of layer, eventually this will look like a nice blurred background with like a rock formation or something. So since you really don't know what it is, I'm basically trying to fool the eye or to capture some sort of idea of what's going on in the picture without giving it so much detail. Rocks are pretty easy to paint, and there was a lot of contrast in this color. It was a lot of lights and darks, and there was a little bit like some greens added in there for maybe some moss or something that was on the rock. So I just try to do the background as best as I can, and I want to just mention that I take a long time to do the backgrounds, as much time as I take to work on the actual face of the animal, because the backgrounds are just as important. A lot of times I find with new artists, what they do is they rush something, and rushing the background will get you to the focal point of starting your raccoon sooner, which I know is the goal, and it's exciting to do that part. But you need to spend as much time as the background in other areas of your painting, not just so much of what is in complete focus there, which is the raccoon in this particular painting. You need to spend as much time on the entire composition of the painting, just as much time as you would spend working on the raccoon itself. So just take your time. This I did over a period of about 3 days, and it came together nicely, but it did take some time to get this done. So what I'm doing now is I'm just blocking in some areas with my colored pencil, and I'm using the Caran Luminance professional quality pencils. And I'm going to show you this particular part in real time. I did not speed this section up because I really want to show you how long it takes to do this. I'm not, when I speed it up, it looks like I'm doing these in a short period of time. But if I were to actually show you the footage, we would be here hours. I don't even really know how many hours this took me. As I said, I did it over a period of 3 days. So they certainly don't come together that quickly. Colored pencil is a very, very slow art form. It is one I love because I love to sketch, and that's how I grew up learning how to draw and paint in the first place, is all my sketching. So my sketching skills really, really come in handy at this point. I love colored pencil just for that reason. So what I'm doing now is I'm just blocking in some color on the background here, and I'm using some Gamsol, which is an odorless paint thinner, and I'm just spreading out the luminance onto the paper so it won't look so streaky, and it'll give me a nice foundation to start off on. Now I don't start to put all the little hair that I'll be working on until I have a pretty solid, everything's pretty solid and all the white of the paper's pretty much filled in. So again, it's painfully slow. I work on one section at a time. Sometimes I bounce around, so you will see me bouncing around a little bit. It just, it's very instinctual to me. I'm not sure any really rhyme or reason why I bounce around. I might just happen to see an area with my eye that catches my attention that I think would use a couple of strokes of whatever color I have in my hand at the time. And that's why I might bounce around to, you know, say his ear down to underneath his eye, back up to his ear. So I try to work in sections too. Sometimes I find it's easier, but overall I want to just get a base on the entire face and the chest area. That's just how I like to do it. A lot of other artists do it much differently. I don't know if there's really a right way or a wrong way to do it. I just can speak for myself, and I know that for me, this is how I like to work. So any of my videos, I'm not going to tell you that this is how it's carved in stone and you must do it this way and you must do it that way. I don't really believe in any of that. I believe that you need to find your own way and whatever works for you. And I think it's differently for everybody. I think everybody has a different visual eye, and I think that we all create differently and we all see things differently. And so therefore our execution, I would imagine, in putting something together with whatever you're doing is not going to be the same. So it might work for somebody, it might not work for me. So you need to just play and practice is gonna make you better overall. If you don't like what you're doing, just, you know, keep redrawing it and practice it again and again until it comes out to something that's better. And once you see that it's better, do it again until you're so happy with it that you think you can't make any improvements to it. So that's how I basically learned. I just started out many years ago with colored pencil and sketching, and it was just a process of learning how the pencils worked and how the odorless thinners worked, blending them out, and what colors worked well on top of each other. So just play. I just want to tell you that that's the best advice I can tell anybody, any artist learning, is to just really play around with what you have and see how it works together, and try different things that are new. You might come up with a way to do it that's, you know, much better than the way I'm doing it. So anyway, let me explain to you what I'm doing here now. So I'm going ahead and I'm just blocking in the eyes. The eyes are always like the soul of the animal to me, and I try to put them in pretty early, as quickly as I possibly can. I don't know, it just kind of grounds the painting for me, and it gives me a place to kind of focalize and see his vision, or see his spirit, more or less. So I always try to get to the eyes as quickly as I possibly can. So up top you can see I basically have a lot of scribble marks up there, and that's okay at this point because this is just my base part. So this is what I call my underpainting. You'll hear that a lot when you're painting in acrylics or oils. There's always like an underpainting. Well, for me in colored pencils, there is an underpainting here as well, and I just like to get a base down, as I said. So these scribble lines will go away as I use my odorless thinner. The scribble lines that you're seeing will kind of fade out and get a little lighter. And again, it's the same thing as I was working with the background and telling you it's a lot of layering. So it's a continuation of layering and layering upon layering upon layering until you're almost so layered out that you can't layer anymore. The only thing you really have to be careful of when you're working with colored pencil is that you don't burnish the paper. And what I mean by that is when you push too hard and you put too much of the pigment down onto the paper, it's going to clog all the tooth of the paper. And the tooth of the paper are like the little particles that make up your paper that hold on and grab onto the pigment. So you just have to be careful when you're working not to burnish things too quickly. You want to take your time, do really light layers. At least for me, this is what works for me. So when I'm saying you do this, you do that, keep in mind that this is how I do it, and this is what works for me. So I'm just trying to share with you how I've learned and what I do that works. So for me, layering very lightly and doing many layers is what I do to achieve the results that I get in the end that you see here. So I'm working on some of these dark sections on the outside, and then I wanted to get some of the little like stripes or those rings that he has. You know how they have rings around their tail? Well, they have these like rings that go around their chest as well. And there's these dark areas that are next to a lighter area. So I wanted to just block in as much of the darks and lights as I possibly could. The only part you'll see me actually almost like sketching would be here in the whiskers. Now I don't do the whiskers, I go around the whiskers, and I'll also use my white Luminance pencil, and I'll go over the whiskers first, which I did actually in another footage here, but I'm using a different camera and it was starting to, I'm not familiar with it yet, so it was actually focusing in more on my back of my hair and my hand than it was actually on the artwork. As you can see here for a little bit, it's not so crystal clear, but my hand is clear. So I apologize for that. I'm still working on getting to know this camera. It's a much better quality camera than I have been using, but there's a lot of bells and whistles to it, so it's just going to be a learning curve, I guess, like anything else, right? So I apologize if it goes in and out at all at any time, but that's what you see here. So the whiskers. Now I do take a white Luminance pencil. I put the white on first, and I do that just to kind of give me some shield or to block some of the pigment in case it gets on there, that I do have a barrier there that's going to protect those whiskers from being taken over with by another color, so I totally lose them and I won't know where to put them back. So just take your time. If you're, whatever you're working on, whether it be a portrait of, you know, of people or animals, it's basically just going slow and moving at your own pace. And the videos that you see here on YouTube or any of the ones that I post like this that are sped up, it does give an unrealistic idea of how long they take. They are painfully long. So don't think that you're going to sit down and create this in one afternoon, okay? Just go slow. And for me, it's just layering and layering and layering. And I can't stress that enough. At least with my colored pencils, it's a lot of layering, and I use a lot of Gamsol or the Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner. I use both of them, and I find both of those products are wonderful for colored pencil. They just thin them out. They help me. They're just a tool to help me thin something out, to give me a foundation to which to build upon. But it's a lot of fun working with colored pencil. I think that if you like to sketch and you have good sketching skills, that you'll do really well learning how to do this very, very quickly. It's not too difficult to do this. It's just a matter of practicing and playing around and learning a little bit of the techniques. So there are different videos out here, and there are different books you can purchase to help you along the way. But for me, I found mostly playing, and that was just the best thing I could have done. It's just that I got some good high quality paper that was good for colored pencil. There are pads out there now. Strathmore makes a pad. I could put a list of items that I use that I love to use, and I'll put a description below if you want to look at them or purchase them. You could just hit the link down there on the bottom in my comment section. But just play, and you'll learn more from playing than you will by watching videos, than you will by, you know, reading books. It's all basically hands-on. That's how I learned. I'm a very visual person, so I do watch other people's videos, and they are helpful too. So sometimes I'll come across a technique that I'll try, but again, they might not work for me because I do things differently than other people, and they do differently than I will, just as you will do differently than I'm doing here. So what I do here is going ahead, I'm just going section by section at this point. I'm working on the right side of his face, and it would be the left side of his face if we're looking straight at him. And I'm just working out towards the end here to the edges where I'm going to meet my background. So the background has a lot of wispy hairs that come across it, and that's going to give a lot of depth and dimension to show that he's definitely in focus, and the background is blurry where his fur is going to be more crisp and more in focus. So there's 100,000 billion strands of hair here that I'm doing, and I do one strand at a time. I do go over and over again, layering to make it look like there's more than there actually is. And that's why I do that foundation first, or where I set out to do my underpainting. It helps tremendously to have some sort of color down on the paper. So I just go around section at a time and take my time. Basically, that's it. Until I get to the end, and then there's actually nowhere else to cover. So that's how I work. It's best for me. And I hope you give it a try. It's a really a fun medium to work with. Colored pencils are not just for, you know, the ones that you see that everybody's using now in the coloring books that you can buy at your local craft stores. There are high quality colored pencils like Prismacolors or Luminance, or Luminance are by Caran, which I happen to love those. Or you have the Faber-Castell polychromos. There's a lot of different high quality colored pencils out in the market today that are wonderful. So I would suggest at least trying them, or, you know, buy some starter sets if you don't have them and see what they do. And some of them you can buy individually if you run out of colors. Like I went through a lot of black in this particular one, so I'll be ordering up some new black Luminance pencils for sure. So I just want to really thank you so much for taking time to watch the video. I know it was a short one, and I bounce around. I do a lot of different things. I don't just do colored pencil. I'm very familiar with oils as well, and I'm familiar with acrylic paints, and I love to art journal. So on my channel there are a lot of different things. So if you want to see more me do more of something, just leave a comment below, and I'll see if there's enough comments that I'll work on something and videotape it for you. But definitely colored pencils are something that I love to do. This particular raccoon is for myself. He's in my own collection. He's not for sale. I usually post a lot of things for sale that I work on and film. But he is something that I've wanted to do, like I said, near and dear to my heart. I grew up with them all around me, so that's why I chose him today. So I had a lot of fun working on him. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Again, I'll list any materials that I use throughout, or anything that I think would help you if you wanted to give it a try. You can probably go online and search for royalty, you know, raccoon pictures if you wanted to give the raccoon a try, or just try, you know, a dog, your friend's dog. You know, fur is great to paint. It's not so hard. It's not as hard as it looks. It looks like there's much more going on than what you actually did. So a lot of it's fooling the eye as well. So here you see me using the blue. I'm just coming back. This is towards the end now, and I'm just putting in some highlights, and they are going to be in blue in this case because they did have a little bit of blue from those rocks bouncing off of him. So again, thank you so much everyone for watching. Please leave a comment if you like my video. Please subscribe, give me the thumbs up if you could. But I'd really love to hear from you. That's how I learn too, and that's how I grow, and hopefully I can be posting more videos soon for you. I have a lot going on, so I'm working on a lot of different things. So thanks again. Have a wonderful day. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you like the final painting. Here it is. It's this cute little guy, and thank you so much, Richard, for allowing me to use your amazing picture of the Irvington raccoon for my latest painting. I really do appreciate it so much. Give a shout out to you because you did a great job filming him, as well as all your other pictures that I've been seeing. So I thank you, and thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you back soon. Bye now.